It's an MG4. It's the SE model. It's a Chinese perspective on driving. You even go near that damn thing and it pulls you to one side, and it does it quite viciously. One of the reasons I bought it is that it has an LFP battery. We had a Fiat 500 petrol and we had a Nissan Leaf.
Yeah, it's great fun.
It is. It is very. It's quite, my wife was quite scared.
We've analysed your car. We know what parts you need. We've ordered them for you. They'll be in tomorrow. Here are some dates for you to book your appointment for us to correct it.
And literally, when we were looking around, there was nothing that was close to it. I mean, I was told that a windscreen for my car could take 8-9 months.
Oh.
And you sit there and think, how would you survive without that?
You can't.
I wouldn't buy that. I know who's driven it.
So I'm Dave, welcome to Dave Takes It On. And today we're going to be looking at the MG4. Can you give us an idea why you got the MG4?
Okay, well, obviously, like everybody else of our vintage, we've driven petrol or diesel cars before. So I was driving a Nissan Leaf, and my partner was driving a Fiat 500.
Petrol,
so,
that's a petrol?
Petrol car, yeah.
Yep.
So we decided to trade both of them in against an MG4.
Okay.
We'd seen them, we'd driven them, we liked them. They were the right kind of price, and they seemed to have every sort of accoutrement that we could possibly want.
Yeah.
So we did this, and we've been driving the MG4 now since October of last year, and we absolutely love it.
Right.
And it complements the AMI in as much as if we need to go any distance, we'll take the MG4.
Yes.
If it's snowing or if it's a torrential rain outside, we'll take the MG4. You know, so both cars have their uses and have their purposes, and we find that the mix of the two is ideal for us. It's got a just short of 51 kilowatt hour battery. It's the basic one, so it doesn't have the things that the Trophy has, like the rear spoiler. It doesn't have the same range. It doesn't have a bigger battery. But one of the reasons I bought it is that it has an LFP battery.
Okay. And that was important to you?
Very much so, yes.
Can I ask why?
Because you can charge it to a maximum without damaging the battery. Right. Okay, most recommend up to 80%, but this one, you can set it and forget it. Yeah. Okay, so that's the reason I bought it, so I can get the maximum range. As a consequence, you're not as concerned about the range as you might be in a car that you normally charge to 80%.
And only run down to 20.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
This one you can run right the way down.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've had a Nissan Leaf since 2017.
So you're a relatively early adopter of EVs.
Yeah.
7 or 7 years,
The first one I had was on loan, and it was for a weekend, and it was a 2013 model. So that's what sort of persuaded me ultimately.
So you had your Leaf.
Yeah.
So if we go back to that just for the moment, how did you find that?
I like the Leaf, I have to say. I was very pleased with what it could do, and it was the first EV that I'd bought. So we got a great deal on it, and that's one of the reasons we bought it. But the range, I never found it to be a huge problem on the initial car that I bought. It was very comfortable. It was
that would
quiet.
have been about 80 or 90 miles, would it?
The 30 kilowatt Leaf that I bought, the first one, the actual range, the LFP range, was something like 140.
Right.
I could regularly get 120 to 130 in this kind of weather.
Right, so that's quite impressive. If you can get what they tell you can get.
Absolutely, and I think it was people would drive them too fast, or they'd drive them with all the equipment on, so they weren't going to get the range that I did.
Yes.
One of the great things was it was the top of the spec range. It had heated seats and heated steering wheel, so you could literally get into it and you'd be nice and toasty straight away. But it came to the end of its PCP, and it was too much to buy it.
Okay.
For what I thought it was.
Had it been sensible, would you have bought that at the... You would have done.
Yeah, I would have actually done that.
So there's purely finances. It wasn't worth what they were asking you to pay for.
And subsequently, I bought one that was an older model, a 65 plate, as opposed to a 17, and it's that was a reasonable price.
Yeah.
So I bought that and held on to that until, as I say, October of last year.
I remember back in my company car days, we worked for Honeywell, and we got a brand new company car every 2 years. Yeah. And then at 1 year, they had this brilliant idea of offering them to us to buy them. Yeah.
And of course, the standard response was, I wouldn't buy that. I know who's driven it. You don't look after company cars the way you look after your
No,
own
you
cars.
don't. No.
But yeah, it's an interesting point that there's a value to it. So,
Yeah.
but at that point, you were convinced an EV was your answer.
Absolutely.
It was really a case of what else is available.
Yeah.
Because the Leaf's not a cheap car. They're up in at the moment, about 32,000. I think.
That was the deal at the time. It was something like 30 odd thousand.
Yeah.
But they were doing a phenomenal PCP.
Yes.
You know, it was
It's cheap to get.
£200 a month.
Yeah.
Which was ridiculous at that time. You know, what could you get for that? So I signed up for a 2-year deal, and knowing full well that the next model was en route.
Yes.
So effectively there was going to be a huge upgrade from 30 to 40 kilowatts, new body style. So I was only going to keep it 2 years. Yeah. Unless the price was reasonable at the end of it, which it wasn't. We looked at other cars. I looked at some of the Vauxhall range, and we also looked at the Leaf again. But the problem with the Leaf was that the battery was air-cooled and not water-cooled. So as a consequence, the degradation on it was much greater.
Yes.
And also, if you were actually driving a fair distance, when you got to charge 3, it slowed down so much that it could take you a long time to recharge.
So you looked at the MG.
Okay, so we looked at this,
others.
and it instantly gave us twice the range that the Leaf had. So we knew that if we could cope with actually going to one of our normal haunts, which is, say, Skipton or Ilkley or Kendal or wherever we like to go at the weekends, this would more than cover it in one trip, one charge.
Because you're looking about 220, 230 miles.
It is 220, 230. In this weather, I'm getting that quite easily, I have
Okay.
to say. And it's quite regular and it's quite accurate. In the winter, it was down to about 170.
Okay.
So, but that's perfectly livable. You know, I have no problem with that at all.
It gives you a range of almost 100 mile there and back.
Yes.
If you're going out at the weekend.
Absolutely. And we have driven down to London with just one charge. So effectively, and that was just before we got to our destination.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
it
what
works
was it
for
about
us.
this car that said, this is the car for me?
Okay, well, first and foremost, it's a very similar size to the ID3.
Yep.
Okay, the Cupra Born is a similar sort of size. There's not much in it, so it had the right proportions for us. It was similar again to the Leaf as well in terms of its size, so there wasn't a huge change there. Having driven it, we found it was a lot stiffer than the Leaf, so it handled better. It's more it's pleasant to drive as far as I'm concerned. It's not quite as wallowy as the Leaf, and we like the looks of it as well. It's a sharp-looking car, you know. I think it's pretty sharp. And then there's the price.
Yes.
And literally, when we were looking round, there was nothing that was close to it. The list price of this car was £26,000.
Yeah, which for an EV is just crazy, because up until this one, you're looking at 32, 33,000 as your starting point for any EV.
Yeah.
And to come in under the 30,000, nearer the 25,000 is a revelation.
Absolutely.
It really is.
We were really impressed with that, because the actual package that it comes with in terms of what you get with the car isn't that much different to what you get with the actual top of the range. So there are plenty of bells and whistles. One pedal driving, which I have to say, I'm not sure it was on the original, the first one, but it's on this one.
Yes.
Okay. I think the regeneration on it is great. A lot of people said, oh, you have to go into the menu to get to the regen settings and to get the power settings. You don't. You just have to set 2 buttons on the actual steering wheel to do this for you and this for you, and I can do it just one push.
I still find it on mine that there are shortcuts that you don't get told about.
That's exactly right.
And the other day I was pressing buttons, and I must have pressed 2 simultaneously, and I got up a menu I'd never seen before. I've had it 4 years, and I'm thinking, what else don't I know about the car? But, and also, don't forget, with regen, as a general rule, you'll set it up to your taste, and it stays there for the life of the car.
Mostly,
I don't change mine.
No.
I've got things like I can do comfort or sport steering, comfort or sport suspension, comfort or sport regen.
Yeah.
I set them up the way I want them.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've changed any of them in 4 years. So it's not like it's something you change every day or have to set.
No,
every
it
time you
isn't.
get in
It
the
isn't. I
car.
mean, you might sort of say, well, I'll set it to eco in the winter months so that you can extend the range.
Get a little bit more,
But effectively, if you jump into the car, you want to set it to be comfortable, and that's all you want. So 9 times out of 10, the default setting is normal, and that's fine, and that's all you really need. If you want to go on the motorway and you don't want to have maximum regen, then you can set it to the lowest setting, or you can have what do they call it, the A symbol, which is basically it sorts itself out, if you like, in terms of what it needs.
They're actually pretty good, these automatic systems,
Yeah.
or the default systems.
Yeah.
The default are automatic because they're right.
Yeah, yeah.
And while many people can actually tweak them to be a little bit better,
Yeah.
most people can just live with the default.
Yeah, I think the difference is that you get to your destination and you've got 30% rather than 40%, which on this car would probably be about, I don't know, 15, 20 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, is that such a heartbreak? I don't think it is. So we like the styling of the car. We like the deal that we got on it because we traded in 2 vehicles against it.
Right.
To get rid of our
Leaf
petrol and the Fiat 500, yeah.
Okay.
And they gave us a very good deal. It's a dealership we've known because they were also a Nissan dealer. They're now a Nissan and an MG dealer.
Right.
So it was people we were familiar with, and
And they
we
were happy
trusted.
to take the Leaf back, which some
Absolutely.
garages
Yeah.
who are newer into the EV market might not have wanted.
No, I agree entirely. And, you know, there's lots of things online to tell you steer clear of this or watch out for that, all the rest of it. So, you know, it's the car that's been on the market the longest time, isn't it?
It is.
And, you know, they had to make it almost bulletproof in a lot of respects, but there are pitfalls.
It will stop you changing lanes because of the lane assist.
You've got the lane assist.
And I have to say that is one of the faults, and I think it's a Chinese perspective on driving. They have so much more room than we do.
Yeah.
That if you go down a single track lane or a very narrow lane that's got two carriageways, if you like, with a dotted line in the middle, you even go near that damn thing and it pulls you to one side, and it does it quite viciously.
Yeah.
I've heard other drivers online talking about this and saying that is the one where they need to adjust it. Now I'm sure they will do that with an over-the-air update or what have you. But aside from that, there's nothing really that bothers me about the car. It does everything I want it to do, and it does it so much better than the first car that I drove that was electric, and that was a Nissan Leaf. Yeah. It's still a good car, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the battery technology has moved on so much.
It does what it says it's supposed to do, and I'm really impressed with the driving capabilities of it. The range is great, the economy is great, so I'm getting around about 4.5 to 5 miles per kilowatt hour, which I think is more than acceptable.
Tells me you're a gentle driver.
Yeah, well, at the occasional time you want to overtake, that's fair enough, but you know you've got it there.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yes.
Now, you know, they do a model of this which is 0 to 60 in 3.8
Oh, they got the new
seconds.
sport one, haven't they?
What would you want that for? You know, I couldn't do it. This is 7.7 seconds. Now, back in the 90s, I had a Fiat Uno Turbo that did it in 7.6 seconds, and I thought I was
and I'll tell you what, some of the Ferraris and some of the Porsches from the 60s and 70s were 6 seconds.
Yeah.
6.5 seconds.
That's right.
And this at 7 seconds. Back then, this would have been a racing car.
Yeah, absolutely. But it does, you know, it means that you've got the capacity to overtake when you need to, safely. And it's a good drive. So I'm very impressed with it.
If we have a quick walk.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You've got a 4-door with a hatchback.
Yep.
Can we open one and just see?
Let's have a look.
So it's a lovely wide opening.
Yep.
Lovely clear space. I'm not going to sit in it at this point, but
as you can see, there's a cable hanging down there. That means that Apple Play and Android. Funnily enough, it doesn't come with it as a wireless method on any of the models, which I found really strange.
Yes. Yeah.
So that'll be a next upgrade because it's a nuisance. That.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's one that's inconveniencing.
Yeah, it is.
To tell most people that I would upgrade to the next model if it did wireless, and they'd go, well, that's crazy, it's a cable. But it's. I know when I first got my Tesla, it was a time I was a rep on the road.
Yeah.
And my job was, I always ran my own cars.
Yeah.
For tax reasons.
Yeah.
So I always ran my own cars, but because I was doing 20, 30, 40 calls in a day, what I noticed about mine was I stop, I get out, I shut the door, it puts itself into park, shuts itself down, I walk off, it locks.
Yeah.
And when I walk back, it detects me as I walk towards it and it opens.
Yeah.
And such a silly little thing that I have a key, I don't ever use it.
Yeah.
I got a mobile phone, I don't ever use it. The car knows where I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these silly little things like cables, they make such a difference
I know.
to
It's
driving.
the lived experience is what it is, you know. And when you find out it doesn't have its own sat nav system, so you think, well, I'm going to have to use that. Yeah. So as a consequence, you know, we have to live with the cable. The next model up will seriously consider that. But then there's a compromise on, will you have the LFP battery for it, or will it? You know, so
there's your dilemma.
There's
you
the
can
rub.
have wireless Apple Play, but you can't have LFP. Oh, would you upgrade?
I know. And I was fortunate enough to test drive the X model recently.
That's a racer, isn't it?
That is insane.
Yeah.
It is, and it's completely unnecessary.
Well, you say that, but in defence,
Yeah.
and this is, you know, I've got one of the fastest cars out
course you
there.
have, yeah.
But what I learnt, and I didn't know this before,
Yeah.
was that the amount of regenerative braking you get is dependent on how powerful the motors are. So a more powerful motor will give you more regenerative braking,
Right.
and therefore more efficiency.
Yeah.
So if you've got a big car like mine, big heavy car, the more powerful the motors, the more efficient they are.
Yeah.
So the Plaid, which has got 3 motors and the bigger battery pack,
Yes.
is much more efficient than mine because the motors are so much more powerful.
Right,
So when you take your foot off the accelerator, they charge the battery much faster than if you've got a less powerful. So we're not going to see a lot of electric cars with slow acceleration.
No.
Because it just defeats the object of regenerative braking.
Right. Okay.
So that really explains it. But yeah, it's great fun.
It is. It is very. It's quite. My wife was quite scared, but so yeah, so you've got that full sort of range of cars in one model,
Yes.
from the lowest battery size right up to the X that will.
And the lowest, they're a real budget car. They're really good value when you compare them to, because it's comparable with a Leaf, which is quite a lot dearer.
It's not. I wouldn't call it a 5-seater.
No,
I would say it's a 4-seater.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, if you've got very young kids,
Yeah.
you
might get away with it, yeah.
Ideal for that. It is lovely styling, though.
Yeah, I think this is great. You know, they've thought about it and it looks well. I don't necessarily think you need the spoiler, and to be perfectly honest, all that does is add weight.
Yes.
It doesn't do an awful lot more than that, I have to say.
And what you also add is drag.
Yes.
Now, in Formula One terms, they want the downforce for grip more than they want the drag.
Yes.
So they put up with the drag. But on a car for us, what is the point of being able to go round a bend 5 mile an hour faster?
It's style over substance.
It is.
The boot is compatible with the sort of roughly with the market, so it's 350 litres of boot space, which is fine. You know, it's more than adequate.
Cable bit underneath.
No, there isn't. No, basically it's just that.
Okay, so you got your emergency kit.
Yeah. So guess what's in my little sack there? So that's great. They don't use. I'd say there's scratchy plastics in it, so it's not. It's done to a price.
Yeah.
And I think that you can see that in some of the way it's worn over the last sort of 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
This, for instance, if you look at that very closely, you'll see it's gone very dull.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know. I've tried a few sort of things on it, just in patches, not all over, just to sort of set. And I don't know why it's gone so dull.
Mr. Sheen.
Yeah, that's the next thing. Yeah, it's trying something like that. Charging port is here, and as you can see, it's
obviously CCS2. Maybe you can answer this. I've never found out. Why do you have that?
Well, I have to say, I can only imagine it's for water ingress.
But does that not apply up here?
Well, I would have thought so, because there's nothing on there to actually sort of close into that. So
you'll get a seal. Yeah, there's a rubber seal there against there.
Yeah,
but that's And I've never had an explanation from anyone why they have those.
No. And your Tesla is probably a lot better because it's just one isn't it? Yeah.
That's all I've got.
Yeah,
one of
that's
them.
right, yeah.
Yeah, which makes it easier when I'm at a Tesla supercharger, but I have to use an adapter when I'm at a CCS.
Yeah.
Which is
that's the compromise you
not,
pay for. But I imagine you use the supercharger a heck of a lot more than you do others.
virtually all. Yeah. Well, no, I tell a lie. Because of the filming I do, I have to use all the others.
Okay.
But it really hurts me when I can go down to a Tesla supercharger at 30p.
Yeah.
And I'm filming a BP pulse at 85p.
Wow.
I usually manage to get 1 kilowatt hour in while I'm filming and then cut off. Simple as that.
Yeah, but we use it mostly on the weekends or for extended trips.
So if you're going 50 mile, 100 mile, this is the one you'd use because you're a 2 EV car family.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and you have a what's literally a run around and dare I say the proper car?
Well, yeah, I think so. I think that's probably a reasonable description.
Okay.
But
so having had it now for coming up a year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up that. Yeah.
Anything you hate about it? Well, you've mentioned the cable.
Yeah, the cable. I think the only other thing is that because of my girth and my size, my knee hits that ledge in there. Do you see it?
Yep.
Now, from a driving perspective, that's a little bit irritating. So,
does it serve a purpose that you use?
No, I mean, there's nothing that I would think that you need that for, that it couldn't be lower.
Or that can be put vertically on the dashboard.
Whatever. It's just a design cue as far as I can see.
But apart from that,
no, there's nothing else.
Find the seats comfortable?
The seats are comfortable, but a little bit narrow for me. But and that's been mentioned on other videos I've seen. But then that's the price you pay, isn't it?
But you've got the length in the legs, so you find that plenty of leg room.
Lots of room, lots of storage space in it. The buttons on it are great. That's one of the things I really love, not having to go through the menu to do basic function buttons.
Right.
And although
things like the fan, heated rear window.
And although they might not be the highest quality, just to have those, it's just great. So that's fine. The air conditioning is great. I can set that from the app. Right. And the app, I think, is great.
Right.
It'll tell me where to find my car. I can set the heating or the air conditioning 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes before I leave. So it'll be nice and cool or nice and warm. It'll tell me what I'm getting out of the car in terms of the range and the efficiency. So all in all, I think it's a really good compromise for what we were looking for. I think that the over-the-air and the diagnostic thing would be really, really useful.
Yes.
Because it's changing so fast.
Yes.
That to wait a year for an update or to have to drive to a garage for that, I think that is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will come.
Well, it's, if I can give viewers an example, I had a warning light come up on the dashboard about the handbrake.
Yeah.
And it said it wasn't coming on or releasing properly. So you need to do it. So I went on the app and you can book a service on the app. So I hit the button service and it said, your handbrake needs looking at. And I thought, whoa. And then it said, book an appointment. So I clicked book an appointment.
Yep.
And it said, we'll get back in touch with you. And a couple of hours later, I got an email which said, we've analysed your car. We know what parts you need.
Yeah.
We've ordered them for you. They'll be in tomorrow. Here are some dates for you to book your appointment for us to correct it.
Right.
And that is the integration that is absolutely brilliant for EVs. For any car.
Yeah.
That if you have a fault, they know about it. They've got a fix for it, and they've got it in stock, and they can.
That is an absolutely essential idea, because in terms of supply chains, if you think about how long it takes to get parts for, I mean, I was told that a windscreen for my car could take 8-9 months.
Oh.
And you sit there and think, how would you survive without that?
You can't. I've taken up so much of your time. I'm so grateful for you, Bredan.
You're more than welcome.
But what you're doing is you're helping people. It's all very well me telling people what a car can do, but you've got them. You've actually got 2 EVs in the family.
Yeah.
You drive them. You've been driving them for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah.
So your experience is what a lot of my viewers want to hear.
Yeah.
Not what I'm telling them, but what you found.
Yes.
So could you do a very brief sum up? MG4, would you buy another one?
I would indeed buy another one.
Right, okay.
Absolutely. It's It's my Chinese MG.
Does China worry you in this context?
No, I don't think it does, because I think that they are so pervasive in the marketplace on everything.
Yeah, kids' toys at Christmas, isn't
literally, you can't get away from them. So, it may be the case that we need to bite the bullet.
I think we should. So, thank you very much, Bredan.
pleasure.
It's a great pleasure meeting you
And
and
you.
seeing your cars. Well, thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe and click the notification bell so we can notify you next time we launch a video. And a massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters. It is your support that enables us to go out and make these videos for you. So thank you very much for your contribution. I'm Dave.